Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Quick Slants with Bethel University head football coach Steve Johnson. Quick Slants is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Bethel coach questions about the Royals, football or sports in general, or just seek the coach's wisdom about life events. In this week's episode, the coach talks to us about the game against St. Olaf this weekend. He shares with us some insights about what he'd like his running game to start doing, and the coach talks to us about what the Bible means to him. Let's find out more on Quick Slants. Well, let's welcome back Coach Johnson this week. Coach, first of all, do you have any team updates for us you'd like to mention?
Not that I can think of. We're pretty healthy. We've got Drew Neville received AFCA, American Football Coaches Association award. He made the Good Works team, and he gets to go to the Sugar Bowl with guys from all divisions. And in the off season, even in the season, he does some really neat charitable work and missions type things, and so that's kind of a cool deal. And other than that, we're kind of just fighting and getting ready for what's next.
That's pretty impressive for him.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. We've had quite a few guys get it, and probably more than our share, and it's really been a cool thing for those guys and for Bethel. So.
Well, he's always seemed like quite a great character guy, so that's pretty impressive. Well, let us talk about this last week. The defense yields 243 yards against Concordia, but it took 54 plays for them to reach that point. You have to be pretty satisfied with the 4.3 average, I would gather.
I don't know. We didn't do as well as we ought to on third down, and both sides of the ball cost us the game. We need to get some turnovers. So. They're not a big yardage team. They're a clock team. So when they have the ball a lot, it means they're getting third downs, and we're not stopping them. We did a great job, I felt like, on first and second, and then kind of didn't make the play there. Their quarterback made some great plays in the running game, a couple passing, but in the running game. And so that kept them alive. And so, while the yardage thing, 243, or whatever they had total, it wasn't that bad. But it just, there's some key plays that we need to make if we want to win.
For your own running game, I know you like to run the ball a lot. So what are some things that you're looking at to try to get that going?
Hand it off more. We will do that now. We will run the ball more. We've got some with the offense that we're growing in. It's amazing, and it's high octane, and it's exciting. And we really feel like we have the players for it, but sometimes the reads will take you out of a running game when you want to be when you intentionally want to pound the ball, and that's just kind of my way. I'm kind of a running game, play good defense, and have a strong running game coach. It's DNA type stuff, and it's what we've been successful with. And I think it's how you win in the long run. But we haven't done it enough. Basically we haven't called it enough to make sure that we pound the ball in the running game.
The team is 0-3 at this particular point, but you've been in every one of these games. So how do you pull these out in these close affairs for you?
We're pretty frustrated. And you kind of look for a million things, and you really you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and you need to really scour yourself. It caused you to do that. We believe that causes you to grow, but we're in a time where there's it's kind of talking to the guys yesterday is like we can't really give each other confidence, but we can take it away. We can rob it, and so. The power of the tongue is important. We need to say stuff that lifts each other, and not in a fake rah-rah sis-boom bow way, but just in a toughness way. We need to not get discouraged and figure out what we can do better. But I would say probably the biggest thing is defensively we need to attack on third down, and we need to get some turnovers. And on offense, I think the same thing. We got to make plays that are in front of us, and we've got some terrific athletes. But if we don't get the ball to them in key situations, each one of those games where if we make a couple plays here and there, we win the game. And So on one hand, maybe we would mask something that we're, not that we are uncovering right now on one hand. On another hand, it's a little more fun to be 3-0.
This week you take on St. Olaf, traditionally a team that you played really well against. What are some things you're looking to see out of this game?
Traditionally that's been a battle, and the last few years they've struggled a little bit, but they're really coming back. They've got nice new turf out down there, and Coach Stern's done a good job. They really got they got a hop in their step, and we don't really, we need to not pay attention to who we're playing, obviously with scheme and all those things, but traditionally it doesn't really matter much. It's who we have this week. We need to go 1-0. We need to play well. We need to be physical. We need to do well both sides of the ball on third down, and everything else takes care of itself.
We saw more out of Trey Anderson this week. Are we expecting to see more in this week, do you think?
I think we will. I think we will see. We'll see Trey a little bit. We're going to see Jake Marsh this week too at quarterback. Youngster out of Wayzata is just doing a great job. Deserves some time. It's not like I shouldn't have said it that way, really, because we don't play someone because they're nice. He's just really a good player and good leader. And Andrew Trey came in last week to relieve Andrew DeZurek, who got hurt on a play, and so he was out of commission, and those guys, they're all really good, and so if Andrew is 88%, Trey's better at 90% or 100%, I mean, and same with Jake. So we want to get all those guys going, and we need to do a little bit better job at quarterback and distributing the football. And doing some of that work. Trey is a really good runner. We need him to throw a little bit better, and Andrew really throws it well. We need him to run a little bit better, do a little bit better on third down. And Jake Marsh out of Wayzata he's really a composed guy for a freshman, and he can really throw it, and he can also run. So we're going to give everybody's going to have a chance to play with the first group, and just kind of have a little competition. Our competition is against ourselves, so that we want to just be great and win the game.
Well, let us head to our fan questions this week. We first of all have Jim from Blaine. He says, despite the 0-3 start, I feel like the offensive line has gone from one of the weaker units last year due to injury to a real strength this year. What are your thoughts on the offensive line, and who do you see as the leader of that unit?
That's pretty. That's a good question and a good comment there. But our offensive line last year were decimated, and we felt really excited that through the trauma of the injuries last year, that this year would be really a terrific time for offensive line, and they really are. They really are a good group. They didn't. I don't feel like they played as well as they could last week, and. In general, they played well, but there were some key plays where we had some missed assignments and struggled a little bit. And so we want to put a little bit more back on them. And so this week we're going to run the ball a little bit more intentionally, and that'll give them. And leaders up there. We have 3 seniors: Ryan Ross and KO, Kevin Olson, and Stein Johnson, and they're really good football players who've seen a lot of football, and they've got a lot of experience, and they're tough guys, and they're amazing players and leaders for us. And then along with those guys, Mason Dietrich, he's a redshirt sophomore. He had an injury early, big guy. He's our right tackle, and he's a heck of a player. And then Nolan Richardson is our other guy in there, and he's a sophomore. So, and those guys are terrific. So those 5, along with Darren Bouchard and guys behind them that are really good. So Jim is right that it really is it's a great group. Those seniors would probably be the leaders, maybe Ryan Ross and Stein and KO. Those guys are terrific players and guys, and so that's an exciting part for us.
Next up, we have Phil from Anoka. He says, are you seeing the kind of progress out of your defense, a young defense, that you have been hoping for when the season began?
I think I am. I'm not. We're not there yet, obviously, and I believe that we really are seeing some some real good things. Concordia is a different cat. They run an option that's very assignment oriented, and whereas we want to kind of get after it and kind of do some different things with this group on defense, that game and the prep for it is a little bit different, and so it kind of causes a I don't know if it's a slowdown, because I really feel like they grew last week, but I feel like we have a ways to go, but I am seeing some signs.
Next up, we have Shelley from St. Cloud. She says, how do you feel about the team's approach to practice and games right now?
The guys they're pretty resilient. They might be more than us as coaches, but they're out there and they're working hard and trying to understand. And some kids are better at it than others, and they need to encourage. So there needs to be a healthy blend of passion as far as being strict, holding one another accountable. But also fun and an upbeat attitude, because it's not incredibly fun to practice football all the time, because it hurts.
Next up, we have Allie. She says, I hear coaches talk about how football is a great teacher about life. What do you try to teach during those tough times?
I try to teach about life, in the tough times and the good times. It's a lot more fun than the good times. But I think the tough times, you really examine yourself a little bit more, and you really kind of scour yourself, but you can also overdo it right there, kind of your true character comes through. And I have to say that for my own self. I shared with the team yesterday that I'm a happy-hearted guy, and that's what I want to be. We talked to our guys about be the man you want to be, and then try to be that guy every day. And there's going to be failure, there's going to be some progress, but we're never done with that. And I just kind of, we got to be vulnerable with one another, but I need to kind of not put on a fake happy face, but to have a happy heart, because I'm grateful, and because I'm, I want to be tough enough to walk through hard things. And so I think they're all important pieces of that, but I think the tough times grow you more, but you don't see it. But for me, it's a faith piece, kind of like in James. The book of James, they're just count it pure joy when you have trials, because it's going to produce something good in you, and perseverance and maturity, and you don't see that when you're in the midst of it. I'm not counting it really joy right now, but I know that the only reason I can is because I have faith that that's the truth.
That's awesome. Next up, we have Craig from St. Paul. He says, Coach, since you endured these kinds of injuries last season, do the Vikings have to pretty much feel that their season is over after losing their starting quarterback and one of the best running backs in the league?
I think the Vikings have so many really good pieces, and what they have is a great defense. And I think that is the best starting block that you can ever have. I think Coach Zimmer's an amazing defensive coach and guy, and when they're I think to the fans, you lose, Teddy and AD, and it's like, oh no, but those guys they're more replaceable than an amazing defense, and I think that they're gonna be able to stay in games, and they're gonna need to make plays. And if Teddy didn't get hurt, we wouldn't have Sam Bradford, who I think is an amazing player. I think he's an amazing guy. I followed him when he's at Oklahoma, and I think he's going to be a great guy for the Vikings, even in this community. And mix him with Teddy, who I just think is the greatest. I think Viking fans can really be happy and excited. The difference in it at ours, even Division I football, but Division III maybe even more, is that those guys can go on the waiver wire and get Sam Bradford. And if we lost our, top guy in something, it's not like we can go, call up the Philadelphia Eagles and ask them if they got an extra running back or something. You know what I mean? So I think Adrian Peterson is a great player, and he takes some pressure off of the passing game, but I love the McKinnon kid, and I think they picked up Hillman. I think he'd be pretty good, and so they're way ahead of my Chicago Bears, and so I think the Vikes are going to be okay. And, what if, you end up getting Adrian back for the playoffs? And, I just think that their injuries are part of the game and everybody's going to have them. And it's not totally like, look at the Patriots. They don't have Brady, and then they lose Garofalo, and then a guy I never even heard of, and I've almost heard of everyone, and he's in there, and they just smoke a pretty good Houston Texans team. So, I think in the pros it's a little different thing, and so Viking fans shouldn't feel bad. I mean, they shouldn't. What's next? So I think Adrian's a heck of a player, but he's a different kind of player. I think McKinnon's a guy that you can do more things with.
Trent from Chicago would like to know, what do you see as the prospects for your Chicago Blackhawks this season?
I think they're going to be good. I mean, last year I was disappointed with their year, but I was just thinking hockey is, hopefully they've rested. I felt like that year before when they won the cup and they were playing like, they played like almost year round, and the intensity of all that stuff. I honestly felt like they were worn out last year a little bit, and hopefully you've got a hop in their step. But with the salary cap in the NHL, your team just gets, kind of flipped all over. And, I hope it doesn't cause everybody's the same, because not just because I'm a Hawks fan, but it is really fun to have somebody be a little bit different and a little bit, because the Hawks are so fast and so all those things. But, people are catching up, but it's not necessarily that they're catching up. It's just that you can't keep your players because the salary cap's so low. But I think they'll be great, and I think they get character. Kane's a great player, and the bread man is awesome. So, but again, it's going to go back to defense and Crawford.
Don't they win like every other year now, it seems? So isn't this their year?
Yeah, they've got same thing as like the San Francisco Giants, and I don't want the San Francisco Giants to win this year because that'll hurt the Cubbies.
Lynn from Minneapolis would like to know, what does the Bible mean to you? That's an interesting question.
It's an interesting question. What does the Bible mean to you? And it's not just a book, but it is the greatest book that ever was. I think that it's inspired by God, and I think it's probably protected by God and the Holy Spirit. And I think it's the revelation of God and Jesus to us. And so it's a pretty good manual, even if you weren't a God guy or a religious person. There's just so many sections of it that just produce life and wisdom and Psalms and Proverbs, and so much of it can be taken out of context. But when it's rightly divided, it can bring life, and it's called the sword of the Spirit. And sometimes the sword needs to be a big sword, and sometimes it needs to be a scalpel. But I think that that's what the Bible is, kind of foundation of real life and stuff like that, and God's revelation to us to help us through things, teach us to be powerful in the kingdom through servanthood and everything else. So just I don't know. Maybe that answered it. I don't know.
So our last part this week, what are we praising God about, and what are we saying hallelujah anyhow to?
Excitement for, we're pretty healthy. That would be a praise Him. We have great kids on our football team. We have a school that the base of the place honors Jesus Christ, and that's a big deal for us. And our foundation is sure. And that's the praise thing. Hallelujah. Anyway, is winning covers a multitude of errors, and we need to win. But I mean, I don't want to just make it be cliche, but we just need to play better. We need to play with some confidence and some toughness, and there's a fine line there, because you can't just kind of wait for something good to happen. You got to kind of get after it, and I feel like we are a little bit incumbent of waiting for waiting for something good to happen, and then we'll be excited instead of just playing the game as the way it's supposed to be.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
My pleasure.
We want to thank Coach Johnson for joining us on Quick Slants this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Bethel coach, please send them to us at stevejohnson@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's Steve Johnson at minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Wednesday evening so we can give the coach a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report.